Did Solo Sikoa just reveal the Bloodline's master plan? That's what everyone's trying to figure out. After there was a video that surfaced from WWE Bad Blood on Saturday in Atlanta with Solo, Jacob Fatu, and the Tongans backing up into the crowd after the final boss makes his triumphant return. The Rock is back, and it's Solo and company going back up the crowd. And Solo said a few words that may have hinted at what is next for the Bloodline and the next chapter of the Bloodline Civil War. Before we get there, let me tell you guys check out everything we've done here on the channel. A lot of stuff from Bad Blood. Check out our reaction video. Check out our video as to what The Rock actually meant when he came out on stage and trying to dissect all the options there. And of course, we're also talking about a lot of this over at Twitter, at WrestleBlake. Follow me there. Check out the link in the description below and the comment. We're talking about a lot of WWE stuff, the fallout from Bad Blood, now on the road to Crown Jewel, and the road to Survivor Series. So, let's talk about what Solo had to say. If you're online, you've probably seen the video. If not, I'm going to link it in the description below. I would play it, but quite honestly, there's not a lot to it. It's just simply Solo looking over at a fan and saying, part of the plan. That is what he's saying as The Rock makes his entrance, and Solo gives a little bit of a smirk. Now, could that have been Solo just messing with fans? And again, you did have Solo giving a bit of a grin here, seemingly pleased with what was happening. Sure, it could have been something like that. But as we all know, we've been talking about this for months. Go all the way back to after WrestleMania 40. We brought up the idea that, here's the thing, if you're going to eventually do the Bloodline Civil War, if you're going to have that big Rock-Roman match a year from now or whatever, which of course we're talking about that back in April, then you know it's going to eventually lead to kind of the split of the Bloodline, and you're going to have Roman go away for a while, and then it's about what do you do from there, right? Well, we found out. Solo winds up taking over the Bloodline. It becomes his and all of that. And so it would make sense that either A, The Rock is the one pulling the strings for everything that's going on with Solo and company, or B, The Rock has decided now that Solo and company have not been able to destroy Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, he's going to have to come back and do the heavy lifting here, right? So you have a couple different options. And let's talk about this relationship between The Rock and Solo Sikoa. You know as well, if you followed this channel for a while, we were doing videos leading up to WrestleMania 40, looking at the way The Rock was interacting with the Bloodline at the time, right? And at the beginning, it was very clear. I mean, I know this isn't the best image, but if you go back, this is one of the ones we talked about, right? Where you had The Rock standing far away from everyone else in the Bloodline. It was The Rock way over here on the left. You had Roman, you had Jimmy, you had Solo, and you had Heyman over here on the right. So even though The Rock was coming out with them, it was a little bit different because he wasn't exactly joined at the hip with the rest of the members of the group. He just happened to be there as sort of a special guest star, is what it seemed like every time he would come out with them on SmackDown and elsewhere. So eventually, though, things got a little interesting because I did the video, and I don't remember exactly when that was. I'm sure it was in March. But you started to realize that things were becoming a little bit more clear as to what could happen after WrestleMania 40. And, well, that's where you started to see this visual, where it's not just The Rock standing far away from everyone else, right? It's The Rock now standing further away still from Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, and Paul Heyman, but it's Solo Sikoa, who each time would seemingly make his way closer to The Rock, and you seem to, without really much of a direct, sort of communication between the two, you seem to start to tie and connect things together with potentially Solo and The Rock being on a different page than everyone else. And if you go back to the WrestleMania 40 main event, Solo Sikoa starts to get frustrated with Roman Reigns, right? Because he feels like Roman should have already finished Cody Rhodes. And Solo's getting frustrated. He's sort of giving orders to Roman Reigns because he wants this to be it, right? He wants Roman to win this championship, and it's all over. It didn't happen or Roman defend the championship. We already had the championships, but it didn't happen because Cody ends up winning, finishing the story, and taking the belts away from the Bloodline. So we started to put it all together that The Rock and Solo probably had some sort of communication at that point, and then that's where now, if you fast forward, you kind of understand that that has to be probably part of the story once we eventually get there, and it could be as soon as Survivor Series in the War Games match. Do we get a reveal of some sort that The Rock is the person who has, put this plan together, as Solo said in this viral video here that it was part of the plan. The Rock coming back at Bad Blood, doing something there to signify sort of the next chapter for the Bloodline story, and also to kind of hint at what's to come at WrestleMania 41. We talked a lot about that possibility with either a triple threat match, the one-on-one match combinations with The Rock, Cody, and Roman Reigns. And so there's a lot coming out of this. But I think now we wait to see what the big reveal is in terms of the one theme that you guys have talked about and we've brought up in these videos before. The one line that is going to haunt Solo Sikoa when all is said and done in this Bloodline story is exactly what Paul Heyman and him talked about the SmackDown after WrestleMania 40. And that is the phrase, actions have consequences. And Solo Sikoa has not come up short once, twice, but now 3 times in terms of being able to get the Bloodline what it needed. And that is getting the championship back from Cody Rhodes on 2 separate occasions at SummerSlam and in the Steel Cage match on the SmackDown on USA Network debut. And now he had a chance for him and Jacob Fatu to beat Roman Reigns, beat Cody Rhodes, regain the upper hand. And what happened? Solo lost again. So, unfortunately for our friend Solo Sikoa, his actions are going to have consequences when it comes to The Rock. So even though, Solo may be smirking now and he may feel good about this being part of the plan, right? I don't think he's going to feel good about it whenever maybe it is revealed that The Rock is the person who realizes that Solo is simply not cut out for this, because he has been the one now who has lost multiple times, and The Rock's going to have to come back and handle the business on his own because he can't trust Solo to do it anymore. He can trust Jacob Fatu, which wouldn't that be quite the scene? Remember the big embrace that Solo and Jacob Fatu had whenever Jacob makes, his debut and all that. They embrace in the ring. You get the sort of trademark hug from the Bloodline. Roman's given the same hug to Jimmy before. We've seen it with Solo, all of that. Solo gives the hug to Jimmy and then kicks his ass before knocking him out of the Bloodline. And now you had that same exchange between Solo and Jacob Fatu. And could you get that same thing with The Rock and Solo? And then it's full-on attack mode where Solo gets kicked out. Now, I know you're saying, well, that would mean Solo becomes a babyface, and now how is he working this? I think, honestly, that's probably lesser of a concern right now because it is all going to really be centered on The Rock. And I think it is going to kind of be interesting to see if they do go that route of The Rock, basically not feeling like he can trust Solo anymore, maybe kicking him out of the group. I don't know if that means Solo is just going to all of a sudden go right back to Roman Reigns or anything like that, but it does leave Solo in an interesting position because I think you probably have more questions than answers as for what's next with Solo after that. But to me, it's about making this as strong as you can make it in terms of the story, and I think that, having The Rock at least maybe perhaps give this version of the Bloodline one more chance, perhaps at War Games, knowing that, again, that's likely the combination we're getting now, Bloodline versus Bloodline. Whether The Rock's involved or not, I think, obviously you can go different ways on that. But still, the bigger thing is we know this has kind of been brewing, and it's really going to be a matter of, has this been the plan all along for the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa and The Rock? Or has The Rock maybe convinced Solo that, hey, this is part of the plan, I'm coming back, but little do you know that you're the problem, Solo. Could that be what happens here? We'll find out, because I can definitely see a scenario where The Rock and Jacob Fatu sort of are connecting the way that maybe The Rock and Solo did way back when, because Jacob Fatu has been the invincible one, not Solo Sikoa. So, yeah, it's going to be very, I think, fascinating to see how they play this. And as Solo said, whether he's being truthful or just playing around with a fan in the crowd, it's very clear that this is part of the plan, having The Rock come back and inserting himself into whatever's going to happen next with the Bloodline. And it does offer more questions than answers now as we move forward into, of course, Crown Jewel. We'll see if anything with the Bloodline goes down there, but you would think that that next big moment and really the road to Survivor Series has started now, because now we see what combination we're going to get at that match and what's the fallout leading into Royal Rumble and WrestleMania 41 season. So we will find out. So you guys let me know what you think. If Solo is telling the truth here, we would never doubt Solo Sikoa. what is he trying to tell us? Like, what is the plan? What do you think the plan's going to be? How's it going to be revealed? How's it going to unfold? Let me know what you think about this interesting comment from Solo Sikoa, and how do you think The Rock plays into this moving forward? Does he kick Solo out? Does, he stay on the same side of Solo for a while? How does this all kind of go with the Bloodline Civil War? You guys let me know what you think. Always appreciate the feedback. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. As I mentioned, be sure to follow me on Twitter. Lots of WWE conversations going on there. And as I mentioned before, a lot of fun stuff on the way here, both current and past professional wrestling. We're going to talk all about it here at WWE Style. So appreciate you guys watching as always. Let me know your thoughts on Solo potentially revealing the master plan for The Rock and the Bloodline.